Well, hello there, and welcome, fans, to another episode of 162 Times, your daily baseball recap and preview show. I'm your host, Daniel Turner. It's great to be with you here on a Monday afternoon in Ottawa, and we are about to bring you our Sunday on a Monday recap show, which means that aside from the regular recap, preview, scores, we will also take a look, a deep dive, if you will, at the Major League standings and how things are shaping up in the wild card race. Being 61 games away from the end of the regular season, I think it's pertinent to start talking a little bit about the wild card. So we will do that for now on our Sunday on a Monday show. But before we do that, let's talk about what happened on Sunday. And we have some good news, folks. We have some good news finally, in that the Mariners won the final game of their three-game series against the Houston Astros. And the victory, thankfully, brings the Mariners to 53-48 on the season. The loss drops the Astros to 52-47. The win went to starter Bryan Woo. He got his fourth win of the year. He's now 4-1 with a 2.54 ERA. The loss went to Reynal Blanco, who's now 9-5 with a 2.75 ERA. And Andres Munoz, Senor Smoke, got his 16th save of the year, and his ERA is a 1.37, which is superb. Both teams had 9 hits. The Mariners committed 1 error, but ultimately scored 2 more runs than the Astros, thus providing a victory. In terms of the pitching lines, the losing pitcher, Blanco, went 5 2/3, gave up 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, and a homer. Then it was Martinez and Dubin out of the bullpen. Martinez went 1 1/3. He gave up 3 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, a strikeout, and a homer. And Dubin pitched 1 inning and was clean. Overall, the Astros only managed to strike out the Mariners 6 times, which is quite rare. And Blanco threw 100 pitches in his 5 2/3 innings. On the Mariners side of things, Bryan Woo went 5 2/3 as well. 4 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts, and a homer giving up. Then Taylor Saucedo did a third of an inning, giving up a hit and a walk and striking out 1, but no damage done. Colin Snyder did 2/3 of an innings. He gave up 2 hits, 1 run. It was earned off of a solo home run, and he also struck out 2. Gregory Santos did an inning and a third, gave up 2 hits, 1 run. That was it. And Andres Munoz struck out the side in his 1 inning of work to get the save. Woo pitched really well, 73 pitches only required to get through that 5 2/3, and you compare that to the 100 that Blanco needed to do the exact same. So the Mariners were battling at the plate, extending at-bats, and Woo was looking very effortless and fluid out there on the mound. The Mariners pitching staff struck out 11 Astros on the night, which was really, really super. All right, in terms of the scoring in this one, the Mariners got things started in the bottom of the second with a big 2-out triple from Dylan Moore, who managed to score Josh Rojas and Luke Raley on that play. That made it 2-0 Seattle to start things off. Then, top of 4, Yordan Alvarez hit his 20th home run of the season to deep, deep, deep right field in Seattle. It was an absolute no-doubter. Almost made it to the upper deck, a place where only he and people like Mo Vaughn, Carlos Delgado, Daniel Vogelbach have hit home runs before, so it was a serious home run. Bottom of 4, Jorge Polanco, solo shot of his own to right field. Wow, his 6th of the year. Feels like a long time since Polo hit a home run, but that made it 3-1 Seattle. Then top of 6, Yordan Alvarez again. This time he tripled to a ball into left center field. Julio Rodriguez had a beat on it. He ran headlong into the wall. He caught it. It came in and out of his glove, and he jammed his ankle into the wall. He even tore the padding on the wall. You could see it on television. He had to leave the game after that, unfortunately, with an ankle injury. But that play scored Mauricio Dubon. That made it 3-2 Seattle at that point. Then top of 6, Luke Raley got his 11th home run of the year, and it was a 3-run homer scoring Polanco and Mitch Haniger. So that made it 6-2. That was really heartening. Great to see that happen. Right away after that, it was Colin Snyder allowing a solo shot to Jeremy Pena on the first pitch he threw in relief. So that made it 6-3 and a little bit nervy. And then top 8, Chas McCormick singled, and that allowed Yordan Alvarez to score. So that made it 6-4. But that was it. That was the final there. Alvarez hit for the cycle in this one, the 9th cycle in Astros history. So a cycle is when a batter gets a single, a double, a triple, and a home run in the same game. It's a fairly rare feat. Inducted last night into the Professional Baseball Hall of Fame was Adrian Beltre, who has 3 cycles in his career, which I think is a tie for most all time. So that's pretty cool and tells you how rare that was. Alvarez was 4 for 4 with 2 runs and 2 RBI, but nobody else on the Astros had more than 1 hit, which is good. And then on the Mariners side for the offense, Robles had 2 hits, Polanco had 2 hits. Those guys have been the hottest hitters for the Mariners lately, and so that was nice to see. Ty France grounded into a double play, batting in relief of Julio Rodriguez in the 3-hole after coming in, and that's a classic Ty France thing to do. And that brings me to a bit of news, which is that Ty France has been waived outright by the Mariners. So he will clear waivers possibly tomorrow at noon, at which point he would be available to sign, or they could try to send him to Tacoma, but he has 5 years of service in the majors, so he could refuse that. So his future is a little bit uncertain, but the Mariners are moving away from longtime first baseman Ty France, and so that is kind of a big deal. They also sent down Ryan Bliss to Tacoma in AAA, and instead of calling up Tyler Locklear, which I had actually Nostradamusly predicted on the show yesterday, they skipped over him, and they are... I'm just going to remind myself of the guy's name, but it's Jason Vosler, a third baseman or an infielder. They brought him up from Tacoma. He's had good numbers this year in Tacoma, I saw, but Locklear played well in Ty's earlier injury this year, so that'll be interesting. But the lineup for tonight's game against the Angels is going to be wild because of Julio's injury, the fact that Ty has basically been cut from the team. So all those things will have an impact on tonight's series with that starts with the Angels, rather. And that is a very good segue into what I'm going to talk about next, which is the next game for the Mariners. So it'll be tonight at 9:40. It'll be at home in Seattle. The Mariners just played the Angels down in Anaheim, and as I've said several times, lost 3 out of 4, and the last 3 were one-run games. I think it was 6-5, 3-2, and 2-1. Just brutal. So we're going to hope for better things because really they got to beat these guys. It'll be Angels All-Star Tyler Anderson, former Mariner, 8-8, 2.97 ERA, 81 Ks on the year. He'll be going up against right-hander Bryce Miller, 7-7, 3.63 ERA, 98 Ks. Another outstanding starting pitcher for the Mariners. Should be a good pitching matchup. Anderson is a lefty, so we should expect to see a number of righties and switch hitters in the lineup, and we have the lineup, so that is what we're going to see. So it'll be J.P. Crawford playing shortstop leading off. Victor Robles will play center field in place of Julio and bat second. Jorge Polanco, switch hitter, will play second and bat third. Cal Raleigh, switch hitter, will catch and bat fourth. Mitch Garver, right-hander, will DH, bat fifth. Dylan Moore will play first base. He's a righty. He will bat sixth. Mitch Haniger will be in right field, batting seventh. He's a righty. Josh Rojas is a lefty. He'll play third and bat eighth. And Jonathan Clase will play left field as a switch hitter. He'll probably bat right. On the Angels side of things, it'll be Anthony Rendon, third baseman, leading off. Nate Shanuel, first base, batting second. Taylor Ward will play left field and bat third. Willie Calhoun will DH, bat fourth. Logan Ohape will catch. He'll bat fifth. Mickey Moniak will be in center. He'll bat sixth. Brandon Drury will play second, batting seventh. Zach Neto will play shortstop, bat eighth. And Joe Adell will play right field and bat ninth. A bunch of bums who are Mariner killers. Mariners need to win this game. They are second in the American League West right now. This is a divisional opponent, and they are not a good team. So this is time to feast, boys. It's at home. You got a good pitcher on the mound. Let's go. All right. Before we get to the Sunday on a Monday part of the show, let's quickly talk about the score lines in the majors from last night, Sunday night. And we'll do that real quick here. We'll focus in on some of the wild card action because as it stands right now, the Mariners are tied with Houston at the top of the division. Houston has a better record on winning percentage, and therefore they're in the playoffs, and the Mariners are 2.5 games back in the wild card. But good things happened last night in that regard. So the Brewers beat the Twins, and the Twins are ahead of the Mariners in that wild card. That was an 8-7 final. It was in Minnesota. The Rays beat the Yankees. So the Rays are now one game over 500. They're actually sort of in the picture, but behind the Mariners. And I think it would be better if the Orioles and Yankees started beating everyone as a favor to Seattle. So I'm not super pleased about that score. That was a 6-4 final for the Rays in Yankee Stadium. The Blue Jays and the Tigers are both behind the Jays. The Tigers are a little closer at 49 and 51. So a 5-4 win from the Jays last night is a good thing for the Mariners. The Padres beat the Guardians 2-1. Guardians are ahead in their division. They're 20 games over 500. It doesn't really have a huge impact, it being an interleague series. The Royals beat the White Sox 4-1, as you would expect. That game was in Kansas City. The Royals are 10 games above 500 again. They had sort of floundered, but they're coming back. So they're ahead of Seattle in the wild card race right now. So them winning is not a good thing. And the Rangers salvaged the series against the Orioles with a 3-2 win. Orioles losing doesn't really impact the Mariners. Rangers are still behind Seattle in both division and the wild card. Them winning is not a good thing. The Angels and the Athletics were 8-5 winners over the Athletics. That's somewhat irrelevant to the standings at this point. Unless they make up a lot of ground, either of those teams will be out of it. And the Dodgers swept the Boston Red Sox, who are ahead of Seattle in terms of the wild card. So that was a good thing for the Mariners. That was a 9-6 final there. In the National League, the Giants beat the Rockies 3-2. The Cubbies beat the Diamondbacks 2-1. The Marlins beat the Mets 4-2. The Cardinals beat the Braves 6-2. The Washington Nationals beat the Cincinnati Reds 5-2, and the Philadelphia Phillies beat the Pittsburgh Pirates 6-0. That was former Mariner Marco Gonzalez getting the loss in that one. He's 1-1 with a 2.7 ERA on the season. Good to give a Marco update every now and again. All right, so let's get to the standings, and we'll start, as we always do, in the American League East, the Hog Division. So at top of that division are the Baltimore Orioles. They're 60 and 39. And have a plus 91 run differential. They're a game and a half up on the New York Yankees. The Yankees in second place, 60 and 42, 109 positive run differential. 4 games up in the wild card, a game and a half back in the division. The Boston Red Sox in third place, 53 and 45, 6.5 back in the division, 1 game back in the wild card, and they have a plus 37 run differential. The Rays are 50 and 50, 10.5 back in the division, 5 back in the wild card, minus 66 run differential. The Blue Jays round out that division at 45 and 54, 15 games back in the division, 9.5 back in the wild card. They're probably going to sell at the trade deadline, which is fast approaching, and they have a minus 70 run differential. American League Central, most surprising division in baseball. 3 teams currently in a playoff position from that division. So Cleveland as division leaders, 59 and 39 they are. And they have a plus 84 run differential. Then there's the Minnesota Twins, 54 and 44. 5 games back in the division, but in a wild card position right now with a plus 42 differential. And then hot on their heels, Kansas City Royals, 55 and 45. They have 100th of a percentage point behind the Twins in terms of record, but they have a better run differential at plus 74. So very interesting. They're also hotter right now, 7 and 3 with 3 straight wins. Detroit Tigers, 49 and 51, 6 games back in the wild card, minus 3 differential. And the White Sox, 27 and 74, still the worst team in baseball, 33.5 games back in the division, 28.5 games back in the wild card. They've lost 7 in a row, and they have a 191 negative run differential. Over to the American League West, the Astros and Mariners are tied with the exact same winning percentage. They each have a 5-5 winning percentage. The Astros at 52 and 47, the Mariners at 53 and 48. Mariners are 2.5 back in the wild card, and Houston is in first place in the division. Houston has a plus 55 run differential. The Seattle Mariners have a plus 16 differential. Then comes the Texas Rangers at 47 and 52. 5 games back in the division, 7.5 back in the wild card, minus 2 on the differential. Followed by the Oakland Athletics and the Anaheim Angels. So the Angels 42 and 57, 10 games back in the division, 12.5 in the wild card, minus 100 differential. The A's 39 and 62, 14 games back in the division, 16.5 in the wild card, and a minus 70 run differential. Moving over to the National League, in the East, the Phillies still lead 63 and 36. They're the best team in baseball still, with a .636 winning percentage and 112 differential. The Braves are in second place, 8.5 back in the division, but 4 games up in the wild card, and they have a plus 58 differential and a 54 and 44 record. The New York Mets are in a playoff spot right now at 50 and 48. And they have a plus 10 differential. They hold a wild card spot. They're 12.5 back in the division, though. Then come the Nationals, 4 games back in the wild card, 47 and 53. And the Miami Marlins, no hope of the playoffs, 35 and 64 with a minus 149 run differential. In the National League Central, the division leaders are still the Milwaukee Brewers by 5 games. They have a 57 and 42 record and a plus 84 run differential. Then come the St. Louis Cardinals, who are in a wild card spot. They're a game and a half up in the wild card. They have a 52-47 record and a -31 differential. The Pittsburgh Pirates are next at 50-49. They're seven games back in the division, but only a half game back in the wild card, and they have a -11 differential. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They've been playing really good. Then come the Cubbies, 48-53, 3.5 back in the wild card, -10 on the differential. And then the Cincinnati Reds, 47-53, 4 games back in the wild card, +31 on your differential. Finally, the NL West, and the Dodgers still lead with a 59-41 record, +95 on the differential. The Diamondbacks are in second place at 51-49, 8 games back, but tied for the final wildcard spot with the Mets and the Padres. They have a +22 run differential. The Padres, as mentioned, 52-50, 8 games back in the division, tied in the wild card, would make the playoffs right now, but we're not sure what the tiebreaker would be, and they have a +13 run differential. Then come the Giants, 48-52, 3 games back in the wild card, -31 on the differential. And the Rockies, out of the playoffs, 36-64, -165 on the differential. So, best team in the American League are the Orioles, followed closely by the Yankees. Yankees have a better differential. Best team in baseball are the Phillies. And the elite teams are really the Phillies, Brewers, and Dodgers in the National League. Then everyone else is fairly close. I guess the Braves are probably an elite team. In the American League, it's really Cleveland, Baltimore, and New York, who I would call elite. And then there's a bunch of other very interesting teams. So, looking at the wild card and excluding the division leaders, right now in the American League, it's the Yankees with a 4-game cushion in the wild card. Then the Twins and Royals are in the wild card spot, and they are both 1 game up on the Boston Red Sox and 2.5 games up on the Seattle Mariners and 5 games up on the Rays. So it's really a 4 or 5 team wild card race right now in the American League. But keep an eye on Tampa and even Detroit and Texas, really. As soon as you get to the Blue Jays, it's the Blue Jays, then the Angels, the Athletics, and the White Sox. Those teams, I'm not really rating them right now. Also, the Rays have a terrible run differential, so they might just be somehow Tampa Bay raying their way into contention. In the National League, it's the wild card cushion of 4 games for the Atlanta Braves. The Cardinals of St. Louis have a 1.5 game cushion. Then come the New York Mets, who are tied with the Diamondbacks and the Padres for that final wild card spot. Currently, the Diamondbacks and the Padres are outside looking in, but they have identical winning percentages as the New York Mets. The Pittsburgh Pirates are right behind them, a half game back, and then the Giants are 3 games back. The Cubbies are 3.5. The Reds are 4, and the Nationals are 4 games back. So really, the only 2 teams in the National League who have no hope of making the playoffs are the Rockies and the Marlins, who are 15 and 15.5 games back, respectively, in the wild card. National League is super interesting because there's not a whole lot that separates the Cardinals from, frankly, the Washington Nationals. Only 5.5 games. So that could definitely change over the next 60 games or so. Fascinating stuff. We look forward to how it all plays out, and we will check in with you tomorrow. Thank you.